Hello, everyone. These are the psychic predictions for April 2025. So, for last month, I've been saying since before 2025, back in 2024, that March was going to be the big month where Bitcoin goes down. Last month, previously for February, I was saying towards the end of February is where it's going to start to go down. And sure enough, it started to go down, and then actually, it started to go down right after I made my March psychic prediction video saying it hasn't gone down, but I swear it's going to go down soon. And then literally the next day it went down. But, anyways, March has been downward pressure for sure. And as I've been saying for a while now, I think it's going to continue to go down slowly over time. Unfortunately, for those who hold Bitcoin, I do see it continuing down further moving into April. It could potentially even get into the 50K range. It does seem to be a slow, gradual decline throughout the month of April, possibly towards the very end of April or the beginning of May. I am seeing a big potential for a flash crash where it just goes down really quick and comes right back up. I have been saying for the past, I don't know, 6 months or something that we could see Bitcoin go down to around 40K. This is probably, if it does go that low, I would expect it to happen around the start of May or so. After that, by July, I would say it does seem that Bitcoin starts to do better and starts to show signs of improvement. So if you're looking to buy, it could be a good time to buy in the next month or so here. But this is not investment advice, so use your own discernment. As far as the stock market goes, I don't really see it doing too much. It does seem last month I said it was going to come down, but it wasn't going to be like the end of the world. It did come down pretty hard, but again, it wasn't the end of the world. It stopped and it's evened out now. So I do see that continuing to go sideways, although I do see some more volatility for the stock market overall. And unfortunately, it does like it might get worse in following months after April. Tech stocks, as far as like NVDA and things of that nature, I just get the sense that it's going to be slightly downward in price, but nothing major. Almost sideways, but just a little bit more to the downside is the sense that I'm getting for April. Okay, so moving on to world predictions here. So last month I was saying that well, actually, again, before 2025 started, I've been saying that there's going to be attempts to create peace with Ukraine, and I wasn't seeing that really happening completely. And I was saying that there was going to be attempts at making peace deals, and even if they do go through, there's still going to be fighting for some reason. And what's recently happened is that Trump has been negotiating with Zelensky and not following through. Things not working out. That's what I said last month. Well, actually predicted for March. It is currently March 26th as of me making this prediction for April. But I did say that I saw Donald Trump looking let down about the Middle East countries not cooperating with him, and it seemed like there was something bad going on there. And I also saw Joe Biden talking crap about him because of that. And I don't know if Joe Biden's come out in the news and actually said anything publicly, but regardless, it makes sense because a lot of people are talking bad about the fact that he's not following through with his campaign promises. And again, I said that this would be the case, that he wouldn't do this. And the other things that I was also saying was that he was going to only release partial truths when it comes to the other things that he's been promising. And it turns out that he has failed to release the Epstein files. Yes, they released some version of what was basically already known, but Donald Trump, in a more recent interview, actually himself has said he, quote, probably wishes I released the whole thing. And in that interview, he then goes on to change the subject from the Epstein files and decides to bring up the JFK files instead, to kind of dodge the question. And recently, we've seen with that, it has come out, but even with that, he's saying now that there are more files that still have yet to be released. So clearly not all the files have been released. And then with the files that have been released, there are still sections of it that are blacked out still. So, we don't get the full truth. I do think that there will be some information that people will find from this, but it's not going to be spelling out the exact full truth. Another thing that happened, unfortunately, this is kind of old news, but just to kind of outline how it's been going, he hasn't been saying a whole lot. Like, for example, the drones, he said the drones were just hobbyist and commercial drones. And as we all know, the Israel conflict and the Ukraine conflict continue, as I predicted would happen, unfortunately. Last month I was talking about how Donald Trump has 1 foot kind of. The idea that he's draining the swamp, it's like 1 foot is out of the swamp doing that, but 1 foot is kind of still in the swamp, so it's a mixed bag. And I mentioned that as well as Elon Musk in the last month prediction. So go ahead and go back and watch the March psychic prediction video if you want to know more about that. So what I have been picking up on recently about Donald Trump is he has a secret plan for a new economy, working with some technocratic types of individuals that want to basically use, well, not necessarily just AI, but lots of technology to basically surveillance the the citizens of the country and make everything much more technocratic, meaning basically that the power goes into the hands of the tech companies. So that is one of the downsides to what is going on here. So I do see an improvement in the second half of 2025 as far as just the economy and how crazy things are right now. I will mention that. But for now, it seems like there's a lot of this challenge going on with these technocratic kinds of powers trying to take over what Donald Trump is doing here. He does seem to have agreements to work with them, though. These are not the World Economic Forum, though. So it's not the WEF, but it is still technocratic groups, organizations, think tanks, if you want to call it that. Basically, they're trying to surveillance and control people through technology, and this can lead to totalitarianism. But as I was saying, I don't see it becoming like a major issue long term. It does seem, though, that short term there could be some issues with that. Sorry about my phone going off. I do see in the future countries all around the world becoming much more localized as far as their economy. I've been doing a lot of readings on European countries, especially on my Patreon page, since before Trump took office, and I've been saying how there's going to be basically trade routes become challenging, and this makes local economies more popular, and it's also bigger than that. It's also a cultural shift where people want to be more self sufficient and um, rely less on the global market. Of course, now after I've said that, now we're seeing trade wars taking place, affecting the price of trade. I don't think that's the main cause of what I was seeing, though. I think it's much bigger, but that is a contributing factor within it. Regardless of current politics and whoever's in power, I do get the sense that the system was bound to crack anyways, and trade routes would become more challenging regardless. So I do see food scarcity on the rise. Unfortunately, this is more long term. I'll get back to the month of April soon, but this is kind of just like a macro perspective of what's going on. But yeah, people move back more towards agricultural based lifestyles. Farming becomes big, it becomes like a popular thing. I'm seeing way more people getting into growing their own food and becoming more self reliant. I do see more technology coming out, but the irony about that is that people depend on it less. So that seems like, honestly, the best of both worlds is to have better technology but depend on it less. There's a push to surveillance us and, integrate technology into us further, but in the long term, I don't see that happening. I do see instead us fostering stronger communities, having more compassion towards each other, and with that, I do see social media becoming less of a thing in the following years. This is going to be like a longer, long term perspective, maybe over the next 2 years by 2027. 2027 is always a big year. That's kind of the end of the cycle of this major shift in politics. Of course, the cycle continues, but at that point, it's more of a cultural shift. But the governmental shift really is kind of peaking in 2027, is the way that I see it. So back to April, I was seeing coming up here that Trump will be making lots of deals with countries around Israel, and I believe this would include Egypt in particular. This does seem to work out for him. Um, Now, there's been a lot of challenges with his previous plans, and so this seems to be an improvement with his confidence. Basically, his confidence is coming back because he's finally starting to get things to work a little bit more for him. But he's also become a little bit more humble in the month of April. Coming up here is what I'm getting. And he's focusing a little bit less on some of the ideas that he was pushing for his presidency, and he's starting to focus more on different strategies, kind of like newer strategies, you could say. He's kind of coming to terms with accepting where things are at and things not really going quite the way he wanted, and he's also kind of starting to admit that a little bit more in the month of April, is what I was getting. So I predicted that Putin would be avoiding peace deals in March, and that's what we've seen. He turned down a peace deal. Um, well, sorry, a ceasefire, I believe, is what it was. But regardless, all the ceasefires from Ukraine and Israel both, as I said, are not working out. It's been kind of an up and down, back and forth month. As I was saying, it's like you're just forward, then backward, then this way, then that way, and you don't really know what's going on. And I was saying this is going to be across world news, but also within people's personal lives as well. And we've seen that within the decisions being made in world politics as well as the stock market and the price of Bitcoin. You know, people were saying, oh, it's going to go to the moon, and then it comes down, and oh, it's going to keep going down. You know, it's just, you never know which direction things are going. But that seems to be calming down a little bit heading into April. But, you know, there's still some volatility going on for sure. Unfortunately, I don't see a whole lot changing with the Ukraine war. I do see a vision of Russian cities being hit again in April, like as in the cities in Russia behind the Ukrainian line. Um, so neither Putin or Zelensky seem to be pretty happy for April overall. I do want to say though that um, this I don't think it's going to be like a huge deal. It's just going to be kind of continuing on with the attacks going into Russia, like them shooting missiles or whatever into Russian cities. Back in 2022, actually, I predicted, or no, I didn't. It wasn't a prediction. It was more just a reading. When I did a reading on Putin way back, I saw him like picking up the dirt and like rubbing it in his fingers like this, and it was there's something about the dirt, and it's just funny now that we're seeing this minerals deal being a big situation here. But I also wanted to mention that I've been talking on my Patreon page a lot about how there is this not just the minerals and resources in the land, but also there is some sort of technology being deployed and being fought over within all of this. And this is something I said way back, and I believe it has partially to do with AI, but I believe that there's more to it than just AI. And this is basically involving weapons, this is involving robotics, basically like things that could take over the world. And it links up with what other people have said, and I've kind of analyzed that and come to some interesting conclusions about it. You can find more of that on my Patreon. Actually, it's free for a 7-day trial for the access to the member or for the paid content for free. And so I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. But yeah, also don't forget to subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up if you appreciate all the free content I'm sharing with you right now. So I always appreciate that, and thank you for giving this video a thumbs up. And subscribe for more predictions every month before the month so that you don't miss out on these predictions. Okay, moving on. So in the news, we did see that Ukraine had launched 178 drones in what is being called the largest drone attack ever, which blew up a Russian airfield that housed nuclear bomber planes. Apparently, the news is reporting that debris was scattered more than 3 miles from the exploding missiles. Some local residents expressed surprise at finding parts of Ukrainian drones in their gardens. France has responded by telling citizens to prepare for a possible invasion, which includes nuclear war. French nuclear-armed warplanes are being sent to the German border as part of Macron's bid to provide Europe with nuclear umbrella protection. So basically, I said last month that I was seeing Ukraine have some sort of unexpected success in the battle, and it was as if he had some sort of gift given to him, was also what I was saying. Unexpected. And this is kind of unexpected. The drones, I don't know where they come from, but I assume that is some sort of gift that he was given from someone. And, obviously this was a positive thing for their battle. So I believe that that's what that was about that I was seeing last month. Again, the battle continues. This may happen again in April, is the sense that I'm getting. But I don't really see a peace deal working out. So Indonesia was showing up for me randomly, possibly Japan being included in this. And I was getting the sense of, well, basically, I just had this vision of people running, and it felt like buildings could be falling. It could be an earthquake taking place in April, or possibly some sort of financial collapse, or maybe both at the same time. But either way, it just seems like a lot of chaos around what felt like Indonesia or maybe Japan. So when I tuned into the US, because that's where I live, what I got was that people are going to be less focused on the political details of what's going on, and people are going to be kind of looking at the bigger picture of things, which is going to be kind of nice, I think, in my opinion. I got the sense of history, like people are looking at history of the world and history almost of like hidden knowledge too. The JFK files is kind of what that reminds me of. And I do get the sense that there's more to come out with the JFK files, and that it will be opening people's minds to bigger possibilities. I feel that it will be harder for people to kind of pick up on one detail and like feel that they have to defend it. And instead, people will kind of open up to more possibilities. Is the sense that I get for the U.S. Pakistan showed up, and what I was getting around that was just this feeling of a long, strenuous wait. Like there's just like this strain on people just like waiting for something to improve, and it feels painful for April. It doesn't seem good. I did get the sense that this had to do somewhat with the economy, and it seems that this will be rough until around June or July, unfortunately, of the year. But fortunately, it does look like things get better around there and start to stabilize. I do get the sense that the US may be able to influence some sort of political change going on there that benefits the economy around June or July. And my overall sense is that Pakistan is becoming more internationally connected, but also making more agreements with other countries on a kind of globalist international level. So I do get the sense that that is a positive thing for Pakistan moving forward. Now, one of the things I was saying last month is that for the next 3 months, we're going to be experiencing this feeling that I described as kind of like brain melting. Another way to describe that is you may feel fatigued, and you may just feel kind of weird. And that's especially for March. Again, we're heading into April here, and I believe that that's going to be felt less extreme, but it will still be there for the next month until the end of May. And this is due to healing energies from ETs, as crazy as that sounds. That's what I was getting. And ironically, I happened to find a video about the Schumann resonance, and how it's been completely out of control. Apparently, and I'll link this video below so that you can check it out. It's a TikTok video where they talk about the Schumann resonance and how it was just normal, and then like suddenly out of nowhere it just spikes and goes crazy. And they're describing how this is not normal, because usually even when it increases, it goes from normal and it slowly increases, whereas this was just like normal and then just like sudden, like just like almost looks like two different, it almost looks like people took two different clips and like stuck them together, because there's no transition from one to the other. So that's interesting. Regarding that, I was also talking about how I had gotten the sense that these ETs are basically coming to Earth and influencing the UK area, culturally speaking, and that kind of branching out to the rest of the planet. Ironically, during a Trump meeting, the well, from the UK area, King Charles happens to invite Donald Trump to a personal visit with him. And they don't really say what that's about. It's just that he wants him to meet him, which I find very in line with this shift taking place from ET influence starting in UK. So maybe there's something that will come about from that leads more to peace, because what I've been saying is that these ETs are basically pushing for an acceleration in human consciousness as well as peace on the planet. So again, I was saying that these energies, these ETs, the effect that they're having will be lasting for 3 months until the end of May. And if you want to know more about that situation, you can watch my previous month prediction, or you can even watch my 2025 psychic prediction for the whole year, where I also discuss that in more detail. But as far as March coming up here, as far as April coming up here, March, as we're currently in, last month, by the time you're watching this maybe, there was a big shift. April, the shift is still taking place, but it's more about integrating that energy. And the best way I can describe it is like you're in a car and it speeds up, and you feel that shift when it speeds up and it accelerates. So you're really more so feeling that in March, but in April it's still going just as fast. It's just that you're now starting to adjust to that speed now. So it may feel more calm, but you're still going at the same speed, if that makes sense. And I get the sense that this, again, will last until May, until the end of May. And I think the best way to kind of think about how this affects people is it's like a computer where you're downloading something. And if you've ever been on a computer where you're downloading a large file and you start to do other things on the computer, it can slow down the computer. And it can even cause the computer to get a little glitchy because it's just doing too much at once. And so this is what's going on to your body, because your spirit is integrating a lot more information and updating itself at a rapid pace, and that is then being integrated into the body. But the body can only do so much at once, so it creates this like kind of groggy, glitchy type of energy. One experience I just had the other day was I was shopping, and I almost, because I live a couple blocks away from a place I go shopping at, I almost walked home with the shopping cart before I realized that I needed to put the shopping cart back. So just like weird little glitchy things like that are very likely to continue into April. Although April seems more calm, And what's happening is I saw like an image of like a brain rewiring and making new connections. And it seems like that's what's taking place in April. And along with that, people will be waking up to kind of like the bigger picture of what's going on in the world. I kind of read that for the US, but I feel like that's also happening in the general world in general as well. So moving on to some, not advice, but I asked, what is the energy of April good for? Like, what are good things to do in general? Of course, there's always exceptions, but in general, what's good for the month? And I got that it's a good month for not trying to do too much. Um, and by that I mean like pushing yourself in a strenuous kind of way. It's a great month for meditation, and I will mention a little bit more about that too at the end of this. But overall, it just seems like it's a good month to take it easy, set time aside for yourself. When I asked what is the month bad for, I got tight schedules, of course. So it's good to give yourself time. Also, it's not a good month for trying to prove yourself to others. So you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Just it's more about integrating on a individual, personal level, and just trying to kind of cope with these new frequencies, these new energies coming in. So the advice that came through was give time to adjust, of course, take time for yourself, but also break your addictions. It's a good month for breaking your habits and your addictions and the things that kind of fill in your space and fill in your time so that you don't actually have enough time to just contemplate and integrate. So breaking those addictions is a good thing to do for April. And with that came the saying that sometimes less is more. Now, I have also been finding some interesting discoveries, basically on my Patreon page, where I've been doing blind readings on people. And it's basically an encyclopedia of psychic readings, well, of specifically, well, I do crypto predictions, hundreds of crypto coins, but also I do different names of people who are influential, who may have keys to helping us understand what's going on in the world. Of course, only famous people. And some of the things that I've been doing recently, I did a blind reading on Gene Hackman and basically came to the conclusion that it looks like there's some very suspicious stuff going on there with his death. I don't want to get into detail too much on that, but it is on my Patreon page. Of course, you can join for free. There's also a 7-day trial for the paid content as well. I also did a blind reading on Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And what I mean by blind reading is basically I borrow the remote viewing protocol where I assign a name to a 6-digit random number, and then I put that away. I don't know what names are associated with what numbers. I randomly just pull the number by itself, and I do the reading on the number, not knowing what it is that I'm doing the reading on besides the number. After I do the reading, I look at the number, figure out what name was associated with that number, and then I know who I did the reading on. That's to make it a blind reading. So I did that with Donald Trump and Elon Musk recently and came to some interesting conclusions about how they are kind of, basically what I said before. There's a little sketchiness going on there. There's a little bit of swampiness going on there, if you want to call it that. But at the same time, it's not 100% one way or the other. It seems more like there are factions of corruption, and sometimes it's not all black and white. Basically, is what I can say about that. But I talk more in detail on my Patreon page about that. Of course, coming up here, I also want to mention that I have Zelensky blind reading coming up very soon, and also the man behind the Georgia Guidestones, the guy who created all of that, and what his true intentions were. It's not quite what you would think. It's not. Well, a lot of people think it's going to be a lot worse than it is. I was picking up that it wasn't quite wasn't quite as negative as many may think, but he's still part of a lot of elite groups that you could say are questionable with their philosophies and things of that nature. So be sure to check those out. Also, of course, I have to advertise what I do on my Patreon page. I do Bitcoin updates regularly in more detail than what I do every month with these videos. I have hundreds of crypto altcoin predictions, and of course, I have hundreds of different blind readings on individuals of importance to our state of the world. Basically, I do world news and all sorts of things just to give people basically a peek behind the curtain of what's really going on in the crazy world that we live in these days. So again, you can join for free, the 7-day free trial for the free paid content. I do need to mention that I will be increasing the price by May 1st. So if you want to get in at a lower price for that, you will be locked in permanently for that until you cancel your subscription, of course. So if you're already subscribed, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're considering subscribing soon, you could get in at that lower price right now and hold it until you don't want it anymore. As soon as you cancel, you will be required to pay a slightly higher price when you decide to come back and check out more content, unless you're just on the free 7-day trial or just getting the free content by itself. So get in now while it's a lower price. I also want to mention and it is a little bit late here, but I have been teaching a psychic meditation course where basically I teach people to become aware of energy. And so this course has already started, but I am giving people until the end of April 1st to sign up for the course if they want to. If you want to sign up for the course, you will have to play catch up at this point because we've already started, and I do check in with people along the way, and I want to be there to be able to answer questions. It is recorded. It is not a live class, but eventually I will teach a second follow-up course, which I will be teaching how to do psychic readings in that, and it will be a live class, and you will be interacting with your classmates and learning to read each other. But for now, this is the class you have to take before that if you want to do that. If you still want to do that, you still can. The only issue is that we've already started, so you're going to have to watch one video, and then every day you're going to have to practice it 3 days in a row before you watch the next class video. And if you do that, then you'll be on schedule with the rest of us. But that's a commitment that you have to make to meditate every single day, and for like maybe 20 minutes or so at least, and practice it 3 days before you watch the next video. Of course, the first class video is free, and that is still available, and I will provide the link to that video, or yeah, that free class video below this video if you want to check that out for free and sign up for the course. If you want to do it, then you need to get on it right now though, or before April 1st ends at the very latest. So this will be a really cool way to become more aware of energy, to just tune into your own auric field and basically learn what is called psychic meditation. And I talk more about that in the link if you want to check that out. Besides for that, I do psychic readings. You can always go to my website, psychictie.com, sign up for a private psychic reading. That is currently $160 for an hour of just me and you going back and forth. You can ask whatever you want. I also do the first half of it, I usually do blind, meaning that I don't really have any input. But of course, if you want to get straight to questions, we can always do that as well. Also, for a more budget friendly option, I do written readings, which is usually about 3 paragraphs or so of a written response to any sort of question that you have. And even if it's a real simple question, I will always make it at least two to three paragraphs just to make it worthwhile for you. And because there's always more things to explore around the question that you're asking. And that is $55 for the more budget-friendly written reading. Again, if you made it all the way through this video, thank you for watching, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not for psychic predictions every month before the month. And that's all I have to say for now. So I hope you have a great April. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.